Welcome everyone, Dylan Gemelli here today with a brand new video for you. So today we're going to talk about the SARM S23, but first I have to reiterate, I'm not a doctor. So anything that I say on this video is completely for your entertainment purposes only. I'm not advising nor condoning you to use any of the things that I discuss, and what you do with this information is ultimately up to you. So let's just start by saying this. We know SARMs increase and help the body's muscle mass and bone density, all right? S23 is orally bioavailable, so you can take it in pill form, capsule form, liquid form. It's also a non-steroidal derivative, so it won't cause hormonal imbalances. Now, basically, S23 is a very concentrated form of S4 or androgen. So when it's used correctly, S23 can actually help increase lean muscle mass as well as muscle growth far better than S4 can on paper, and S4 is already regarded as an extremely powerful muscle building compound. Now, there's a handful of studies out there, and only a handful, mind you, that show that S23 is the closest SARM to anabolic steroids regarding efficacy. All right? There's some fundamental differences. Now, unlike traditional steroids, S23 doesn't decrease prostate size or cause dangerous mood swings. Other user reports suggest that S23 is perhaps the best SARM to use when wanting to harden muscles and to create a more chiseled aesthetic, but we're going to get into that in a minute. That's not necessarily all factual. How does S23 work? It's often referred to as one of the big daddies of SARMs because of how powerful it is. S23 works by specifically targeting chemical receptors in the muscles to skeletal bone masses of the body. Now, after being stimulated, these muscles and bone groupings are encouraged to then grow by utilized stored energy reserves. So studies have shown S23 to actually increase both lean muscle and skeletal mass while decreasing body fat. When combined with strenuous workouts, S23 can result in like a grainier muscular build and increased endurance levels to a small extent. Now, is it safe? That's up for debate. Now, correctly using S23 is a safe way to increase muscle growth and endurance through, SARM supplementation. Now, because of how S23 affects the body's hormonal receptors, not much needs to be used when compared to other SARMs. But S23 is extremely potent, and it affects people in many different ways, even under proper dosing, all right? So for this reason alone, it's essential that you dose it properly and correctly and moderately. So a few things that you need to keep in mind. When cycling S23, all right, it's going to be detectable in the blood and urine for at least 72 hours, if not longer. There's no extremely definitive, detection time. It's important to consult with WADA rules and coaches before taking S23 if you want to compete without breaking any competition guidelines. So, because of how close S23 is to steroids, it can come with more side effects than other SARMs. That's a guarantee. Now, S23 is going to be extremely suppressive, which is why I don't feel it should be even grouped with SARMs. All right? Because of how strong it is, it can actually cause a metabolic problem known as testosterone shutdown or suppression. Unlike other SARMs, S23 has been studied to alter testosterone levels in the body significantly. People who cycle S23 are reporting that they have extreme shutdown, extreme suppression, and need a full post-cycle therapy. All right? Basically, S23 is known as a male contraceptive. All right, now you got to think about that, especially some of these guys that are really young that are wanting to run it. This is just like running a steroid in terms of the suppression. It's something that you need to be very aware of and be very, very, very careful of. It's nothing like other SARMs that have minimal amounts of suppression, where you can get away with running a small mini PCT. This is not the case. There's also an increased sense of aggression across the board. So S23 can throw your testosterone levels pretty high. And constant aggravation and expressing signs of outward aggression have been reported with people cycling S23. The mental side effects can actually vary significantly from person to person, but they are very, very present. All right? It needs to be said, if you have a history of mental illness or violence, you shouldn't probably use S23. Your testicles and your prostate are likely going to shrink. When you take in steroids, S23 can cause abnormal shrinkage of the testes and the prostate. This is, for the most part, temporary and will likely go away after a few weeks. Maybe. All right, maybe not, depending on the person and how they're dosing it. So to avoid permanent damage, never cycle more than 8 weeks with S23 if you observe any sort of testicular and prostate shrinkage. All right? Hair loss is also possible. Using S23 can cause hair loss in men. If you're already experiencing thinning hair, you're prone to MPB, you might want to think twice. You can excrete darker than usual urine with it as well. So users have reported, urinating a lot darker than normal, and it's attributed to how S23 causes the body to release retained water. So some benefits now. It can result in a lot of benefits. Grainy muscular builds, all right, muscle hardening. It's very, very comparable to something like a Winstrol, maybe less, but that's the type of things that it does in terms of muscle hardening. It can possibly increase stamina slightly during your workouts. Because of the anabolic effects of S23, you can expect to increase your stamina while taking them. And in fact, the increased stamina will be present even after you come off the cycle for a small, time. And it can reduce water retention in the body as well. It depletes the muscles of water so that they can flush excess insulin and lactic acid. So the result is then dramatic water weight loss, which could be a plus if you're competing at weight levels, which contributes to the muscle hardening. It's going to offset muscle catabolism when you're cutting. So if you're cutting, S23 can help mitigate muscle loss. Cycle through a course of S23 when trimming down, and you'll retain your muscle gains there from bulking as well. It produces really quick results. Now, because of how potent it is, results do come quickly. You can expect to see visible differences in as little as 2 weeks. Skeletal bone density can also increase. All right. Calcium mineralization in the bones is also possible when taking S23. So keep that in mind as well. Even though S23 has more significant side effects than other SARMs, they do offer more benefits as well. So it's like a risk versus reward. Now, what's the correct dosing? Studies conducted on rodents suggested that the human equivalent to dosing S23 would, and this is a wide range, would be between 0.5 milligrams up to 50 milligrams. All right, specific dosing is honestly a little bit difficult to pin down. Most users suggest between 20 and 30 milligrams a day. I suggest being a little bit conservative, starting maybe 15 to 20 and assessing from there. Generally, the dose is split about 3 times during the day. Correct cycling is also hard to be exact with because everybody is different on how they react. Most people go about 8 weeks with it, and that's their max. I definitely would not go over that, 6 to 8 weeks. So, just a few things to answer real quickly. If you stay, how quickly will you see results? If you stay consistent with your daily doses, you're going to start to see some pretty drastic results in as little as 4 weeks. Will it make your mood swings? I've already discussed that. Yes, it definitely can. Pill form, capsule form, it all comes down to the quality. It makes no difference. And then, can it damage your prostate? Well, the long-term effects of using S23 are very unclear. There's no long-term studies done, so it's hard to say. Some users have reported shrinking testicles and prostates as a result of heavy S23 cycling. Usually these symptoms are cleared after stopping. So, that's dose-dependent, person-dependent. On paper, it's not supposed to do that, like I said at the beginning of the video, because of it being a non-steroidal hormone. But that's not what users are experiencing. And that's why I'm so, I don't know the word that I'm looking for here. I'm very hesitant when making any sort of, recommendation with S23. I don't prefer it. Never have been. Anybody that knows me knows I'm not a big fan of it. Look, the facts are there on what it can do. I'm not going to deny that. I'd be completely ignorant to say that the facts on what it can do aren't there, but the facts are also there on what it can do to you negatively, and that's where my concern comes in, especially being that there's no long-term studies done to show you what kind of effects it can have over time. Now, it's not like there's millions of them on other SARMs, but we know that the other SARMs are much lighter to such a higher degree in terms of the side effects that they cause, and there are studies there, where S23 is very minimal in the studies. So, in regards to my recommendation, I generally steer people away from it, but that's up to you on what you do. Your body, your choice, your decision. So that's just my opinion. That being said, www.icearms.com/forums. I'm also on the Evolutionary Forum as well as the Elite Fitness Forum. Dylan@icearms.com is where you can get me with all questions and comments. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That being said, stay tuned for plenty more to come. Dylan Gemelli, signing off.